All right, you guys can see my screen, right? Yes, and now I can record from here as well. All right. So I will try, like I said, I will be going through the conventional approach and then the non-conventional approach, which means the approach that are a bit informal, but they work. And these are both based on research and based on my experience in the past, my communication with some of the guys in the industry. When we started this stuff 6 weeks ago, about 8 weeks ago, I told you guys that I was going to do proper research. I was going to try as much as possible to talk to some of my, maybe my approach has actually been um, I've been away from the job hunting space for a while, so maybe my approach has been a bit far. So I remember telling you guys that I will try as much as possible to research and ask those that I've mentored over time how they got their jobs. I also took some liberty to ask some of the people that have reached out to me on LinkedIn that what exactly did I do right. I've also, in a way, tried as much as possible to do research on what people are actually doing better. So I hope that this, in one way or the other, helps someone, especially you guys. So, like I said, I divided everything into two particular sections. One, the conventional approach, then the second one is the non conventional approach. And I will be speaking about process that probably people don't really take serious anymore, but it's still very active. So yeah, let's start. As I said, the non-conventional approach is sorry. Okay, so we have the traditional method. So what? How exactly do people apply for jobs in the past? I will talk about that in a jiffy. But before that, let's talk about what are the standard things to expect in your CV. Usually, the first one, I want to assume that you guys know what a CV, a resume is, or what a CV is, and the difference between that and a cover letter. In case you don't know, a CV is curriculum vitae, which basically means that you have a document that actually highlights everything about you. I have personal information about you. I have your educational background. I have your work experience. I have references regarding you that I can actually reach out to in case I need to validate if you are a valid person. Usually, the reference, I will talk about it soon, what it should look like. And then there's a resume. Resume is like a short, summarized version of that your CV. So your CV has everything since the first day you were born, the first job you ever did, and then your resume has or practically the relevant ones to the job you're applying. So I'm sure this is not the first time you're hearing it. Some people have like the general CV and then they now have resume tailored towards different jobs. So if that works for you, and then that's good. But just understand the difference between the two. If your company is asking you to send your CV, they ask you to tell them everything about you, including your preferences. I've had people say that they won't send referee uh, because the other person they will ask available upon request. There's something like that with CV. CV has to have your reference. It's a format that has to be followed, so you have to include everything. By the way, for CVs, it's different from for different organization. I know for government organization they have a format to use, and Nigerian government organizations, even any other country, government organization has a format you have to follow. They have fonts, they will give you the font size, they will give you exactly how you have to do it. And then there is the corporate world. Some companies will give you the format they want it, while other companies just tells you to write it. They just want you to write as much as possible, as much as you know about yourself. If at any point in your life you did home lesson teacher for anybody, it should be in your CV. This experience matter. If at any point in your life you stayed in the shop with your mom or your dad for a long time, and you learned one or two things during those period, it should be in your CV. But resume is like a short form relevant to, that means your experience, your life, basically relevant to the job that you're trying to apply for. That's a resume. It's a short form. Companies that request for resume, they are not really interested in your entire life. They just want to know how what you've done in your life affect what you're doing right now. So that's the difference between the CV and the resume. I hope you guys understand that. Then there's a cover letter. The cover letter is, let me explain how the cover letter came to be. In the past, like years ago, when you are submitting your CV, you often submit it with like a letter to say, hey, I'm submitting my CV because I saw this advert and blah blah blah. I believe that can you come, or you submit it physically with an application letter. I, for some of us that have been around for a long time, we could relate to that. When you go and submit your CV, it always comes with an application letter. That application letter is like another summarized version of why you are submitting your CV. So in the application letter, you're able to talk about what you've learned about the company and how you believe that your skill should be able to apply. Usually, companies read your application letters first, and then when they check your application letter and they feel like it's good enough, they now check your CV. So the same applicable to the digital world, where we now have something to replace application letter called cover letter. In some cases, especially if you are sending the application via email, you don't need a cover letter. Just make sure that you include whatever you would have added in your cover letter in the body of the email. I believe that if you are in this class and you don't know how to write email, you are in the wrong class. So yeah, so cover letter is like your application letter, and if you're applying through a job board, don't just put your resume there. Make sure you include your cover letter, because that's the first thing they want to read. How good are you with telling yourself? It's a way to sell yourself. So sell yourself well in your cover letter. So like I said here, the most important part of the work is that you have to ensure that your work, your CV, your resume, regardless of which, depend, especially if the place you are submitting to is not giving you a, they're not giving you like a requirement. For example, if you want to apply to MBA, sometimes MBA requires CVs, and sometimes they tell you to rearrange in a in descending order. They specify descending order or ascending order, but in most case, any section you are, if you're in educational section, make sure that your latest certificate is at the top. That means the first thing they are seeing is your latest certificate. So if you have masters, make sure that your masters is what is showing at the top. If your last job is with Chevron, make sure that it's at the top. So that's the way it should be. But except the place you're applying for has a specified format for your CV. Now, for most CV, people just add their names. In some cases, I advise people, even if you're including your name, include your job title. It might not necessarily be your job title as products manager. It could be something more generic. It could even be a catchphrase. It could be a tagline. It could be something really good. It could be helping companies move from 0 to 100, or helping companies to move from 50 to 100% sales per month. It could be anything like that. But if you are someone that likes to keep it simple, you can just put senior products manager, or whatever it is you are writing the CV for. In this case, product manager. So this particular part is usually, I don't oftentimes like it saying it in CV, because it makes your CV unnecessarily bulking, and that, unless you are very good in writing, please avoid it. That career summary and objective, sometimes it could be the turn off. Someone reading your CV, that's the first thing they see. Like your summary or objective is the first thing they see. And if what is inside that place is just AI generated, there's nothing special about you. That place does not scream something about you that is different from every other person. Then at the end of the day, they would not read the rest of your CV. So sometimes you can decide to remove it, or make sure that you're writing something worth reading in that particular section. Then you already know about employment history, you know about your section where you had your and then you know the skills as well. Like I said, if it's a CV, which is not common again, but if it's a CV, for example, if you are trying to apply for government jobs, you would need a CV. In that particular part, there will be more section. For example, personal information, where you put your home address, all those yada yada, and then there will be another section where you have references. So please know the difference between the three of them. All right. Um, so, like I said, your cover letter should have certain things. So you should always write a cover letter every time you're applying for a new job. Don't write a generic cover letter and use for everybody, because it's always different. So your cover letter should always be designed every time or written every time you are applying for a new job, because you understand very soon. Usually, your cover letter should be maximum of three paragraphs, except of course you want to add an extra paragraph to explain about what you've learnt about the company, or give them like an overview. But you can do that in the second paragraph. So the first paragraph is introduction. Tell us about who you are. Usually that is what start an interview. They ask you, who are you? Tell us about you. So your cover letter should do that already. Tell Write something interesting about yourself in the first paragraph. It doesn't have to be big. You don't have to tell them, I like to eat beans and rice. Nobody cares about your hobbies except the company request for it. Like I said, with the government organization, you have to include your hobbies. It's like one of their most hard things in the CV. So you have your first paragraph introducing yourself. Then in the introduction of yourself, you have to include um, some things that I like your qualification. Then the second paragraph is where you actually talk about how your qualification helped them as a company. If I'm writing a cover letter, the second paragraph is how I will talk about it. Oftentimes, in that introduction paragraph, you can also talk about how you actually got to know about the job, in case the job was actually pasted on a job board or something. And the second paragraph is where you talk about how your qualification actually helps the company, which oftentimes you most likely write rubbish if you have not researched about the company. What most people do now is just copy the job description and copy their CV and tell AI to generate something for them. It's not always valid, because in the JD, they don't always put all the information you need. What do I mean? As a product manager, you need to know what's happening on their Play Store. You need to know what's happening on their App Store. You need to know what exactly is going on in the product you would be managing. What exactly is the product? Is it even an application, or is it a web app? Is it Are they doing well? How many downloads have they have? Why are their downloads low? What's their revenue like? What are people talking about? What are people saying about them on Twitter and all that? This gives you a perspective of what the company does, and you'll be able to see how you as a person can actually help them leverage those information to make better informed decision. So that second paragraph is for that. Then the third paragraph is usually a call to action, where you tell them, okay, I believe that you've read. Based on this, this is what I would appreciate that you do. Probably reach out to me. Here is my phone number, or you can reach out to me in my phone number attached to the the application, the CV, blah blah blah. Just make sure that at the end of the day, your cover letter includes something that you're asking them to do. Oftentimes, either to reach out to you, or you're looking forward to hearing from them, or yada 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 yada. Um, in rare cases, oftentimes I tell people, make sure that you put out value when you write your cover letter. As a product manager, you want to talk about a problem you've seen and how you can solve that. So your value proposition is very, very important. You realize that I wrote here that company research is very important, and then your value proposition has to be clear. You have to let them know what you bring on board, and you can only do that with the cover letter. Sorry, you can't do that with your CV, because your CV is most likely generic. Your resume is most likely generic as well. So your cover letter is a place you can express yourself before the interview, to tell them that, yeah, good. So if you are really really serious about applying, it takes time. Do you get? It's not just something you just wake up and do. It takes time. All right. So, what are the common standard job search channels? Usually, you have platforms like Indeed Of course, there are a lot of other platforms like that, but Indeed is like a touch point based on this recording now, is a touch point where you could go to, upload your CV, set your profile up, set alerts, and automatically they would inform you when somebody tries to, maybe somebody's looking for someone with the experience that you have. Sometimes as well, they show your profile to potential recruiters, and then recruiters can message you directly even without you applying. So platforms like that are really, really good. Then there's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the father of all. I've told you guys, build your LinkedIn. Build your LinkedIn. Talk about things that you're learning. Don't just learn in isolation. Idala started it and then she stopped. Don't just learn in isolation. Talk about what you're learning part time, however crude it may be, however not making sense. Like you have not made sense of everything yet. Share your journey with people. If you are having difficulty, share it with people. Let people come and tell you, oh, this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you're doing right. Over time, yeah, as long as people are checking your profile, they can see that you have value to give, and they can see that you're open to suggestions. Don't just be on LinkedIn for paparazzi's sake, laughing at people's posts, saying that, doing bad belle for people that are actually doing well in their life, saying that LinkedIn, some people just come on that LinkedIn to, you go there and do different, do different. That's the point. And then there's Glassdoor. If you want to check before an interview, I always tell people, check how much the company pays. It helps you to discuss on interview. So Glassdoor is a place where you could check. You can just check how much is this company paying for this role. And sometimes some companies are not really there yet, but you could check Glassdoor to check the random, like in the area. If the company is in, for example, Dubai, you can check how much they pay generally. Sometimes it doesn't really, it doesn't work. Especially if you are a remote worker trying to work in a country, they might be paying, for example, as a remote worker working from Nigeria, working for maybe like a Saudi company or a US company, they might be paying between 80,000 to 150,000 naira for that particular role in their country. But for you working remotely as a Nigerian, they might be paying you like 10% of that. So usually it's a messy business, it's a messy trade, but it works. So oftentimes, if you check, you can also, always message people again on LinkedIn that are already working in the same position that you are, and ask them how the payment structure is and all that. It helps. It helps. And yes, you can check on their company's website as well to see um what their what do they call it now? What they do basically, and how they treat their employees. Check their profile, check employees' post. It helps. It helps. So what are the best practices? Number one, make sure that your profile is optimized for certain keyword, especially your name. Don't just post without signing your name, especially on LinkedIn. Don't post and then leave it like that. At the end of every write up you write, make sure that you include your name somewhere, because LinkedIn is highly SEO sensitive. So for every post you put out, somehow, after a few months or after a few weeks or even days sometimes, if you search for your name on Google or any other search engine, you most likely find yourself ranking for that particular post. So you see those posts coming out as your result. So it helps you. For example, when a recruiter is trying to search, who is this guy? What does he have online and all that? Like that. So for on this platform as well, try as much as possible to do a few search. For example, if you are on Indeed, try and do a few search for jobs and add filters. It saves it on your profile and recommends jobs related to that existing filters for you. And I've already talked about the automated alert. Set up alerts that would help you at the end of the day. Then have a tracking system. One of my mentors, when I started, told me you have to apply to at least 5 to 10 jobs per day if you're just looking for a job, and you have to be prepared to actually do that for 3 4 5 months. And the idea is every single time you apply for a job, you have a Google sheet to track. This is the company I applied for, this is what I told them, or key things in the differences. write the key things so that when they reach out to you, you can probably, if they don't reach out to you, it's been a week, you can have a plan and say, after a week, I want to reach out to every single person that applies to me. So you have a tracking method, so to say. There's a lot of templates online that you could use if it works for you. Um, all right. So what is the traditional method? I mentioned that I was going to talk about that earlier. In the before now, usually you find job search on newspapers, and that's why our parents, if you have a parent right now, especially in Nigeria, that doesn't read newspaper, it's probably because they've gotten used to how to read the same newspaper on their phone. So our parents are so used to, especially educated one, reading newspaper or listening to radio. These are places where they actually hear about job openings. So their subconsciousness is used to it. Um, and to be honest, till date, especially in Nigeria, if you want to know when government agencies, universities, public organizations, when they're actually employing, you always find it in newspapers. Newspaper are always advertising, oh, NDA is calling out for people to come and apply. NDLA is calling for people to come and apply. EFCC is calling for people to come and apply. A lot of organizations like that, oftentimes they announce via newspaper. There's also local publications. They're not really newspapers, but it could be magazines, it could be basically anything within your community. It could be even a billboard. It could be a community board where you know anytime there's a job in that particular community. It could be your post office board and all that. A lot. So, and it could be specific industry journals and magazine. For example, in the oil sector, you most likely find oil advertisements in magazines and publications. You would most likely not find it on papers or online. Have you ever seen a Shell? Well, Shell, you find graduate trainee, but like core Shell jobs, you might not find them outside because before it even gets out, they already found somebody inside internally who knows somebody for somebody. So you need to try as much as possible, especially if you want to work in certain industry, get close to the industry. That's how you get to know. You rarely find a job role for bank manager. You rarely find stuffs like that. You rarely find relationship manager or like top offices in banks. You rarely find them. Why? Because it's either they are promoting somebody internally, or they are giving the advert internally for someone to suggest someone to bring in. So usually that's the case. So these publications, or they put the advert on internal publications, for example, industry specific publications, magazines, and all that. You find them there. So you have to be up to date depending on the industry you're trying to go into. All right. So, what are conventional networking strategy? I told you I was going to talk about conventional and non-conventional. Everything I've spoke about since are the conventional ways to actually get a job. So, yeah, how do you network conventionally, like formally? How do you network to be able to get job? So, number one, attend conferences. Conferences are quite expensive. I won't lie to you, they're expensive. When I started my career, I wanted to. You'd have conferences in Kenya, Ghana, you'd want to attend, but you are your parents are not very rich, and how do you even make it? But there are some conferences within your location. Look for, if you are in Port Harcourt, find a place in Port Harcourt. Any tech event, don't be shy to go. If you are in Lagos, anything that looks like what you are interested in, if oil company is doing something, find a way to get tickets to attend, so that when you go for these events, you meet people. It might even be just the person you are sitting with, and then the MC saying, "Look at the person you are sitting with," and then that just kickstarts conversation with you, and then you find out that that person is the manager of one big organization, or is the co-founder of something, or is the HR manager of something. Usually, that is one of the best ways to network. And again, trade shows and exhibition shows, you see a lot of young guys go for GT Co. A lot of all those guys in Nigeria, you just feel like these guys are wasting away their life. You just go for fashion shows. You see a lot of tech guys just come there to go come and Just come and see. People go there to network at the end of the day. And while they're networking, they're meeting people. You could go for boot camps, etc. A lot of that. A lot of that. It don't undermine the power of those events at the end of the day. All right. So there's also Chamber of Commerce. We oftentimes don't get enough publicity for Chamber of Commerce in Nigeria. But in some other country, it is a bit popular. You would know that there's an event organized by the Chamber of Commerce. Most people don't even know there's a Chamber of Commerce in Nigeria. They don't even know there's literally a ministry involved with that. Guys are basically making money. The rich guys push their children to this event. So you go to this event, you ask questions during the conferences, get to meet industry leaders. You meet Dangote in such events. Those events are mostly sometimes closed events, but there are some of them that are open. Some of them, all you need to just do is just pay 1,500 or 2,000 to get inside the hall. So at the end of the day, get intimated. Be based on the industry you are. I think few weeks ago there was an event held in Ilorin, Kwara State by it was in collaboration with Chamber of Commerce as well. So you don't know. You just see some of these pictures. You see people snapping pictures. Volunteer for this event. I will still talk about that. But basically, this is how you network. All right. Another most valid places where people are getting if you are ha if you especially if you attend public university in Nigeria, there's an alumni network, very strong one that you are not aware of. As a matter of fact, you were forced to pay for registration to join the alumni network. But after you graduated, you decided in your mind not to follow up. I'm telling you now for free. Follow up. Try and get into that alumni network. Some of them they are on Telegram group, some of them are on WhatsApp. I mean, big guys. You would be surprised to see some of the guys you look at on TV and say, I wish I can be like this guy. And they graduate from your school, they are in the same community as you are. You don't have to like their phone number is literally staring at you just because you're in the community. So alumni network can be very, very, very important, especially for those of you that have done MSc, MBAs. Obviously, if you've done MBA, they are most likely to succeed people there that would probably help you out with one or two things, bring you into places that you might not be able to enter without so-called connection at the end of the day. So yeah, try as much as possible to be a part. And if you are still a student, please get involved. Be in politics. I'm not saying be in politics because of politics, but be in politics because of after school. Why? Because oftentimes those that are in politics get to meet people that eventually would know people later on in the future. You meet people that will probably do policies for their entire life. They will go become senators, they will go become. I'm not saying that that's some of the purpose, but usually leaders in school end up becoming leaders outside school. They might not be politicians, but they might be leaders of industry, they might be CEOs, founders, they might even be team leads. They eventually find themselves in leadership position. And when that happens, you want to be able to be a part of it. So, am I saying if you are not a leader at heart, you should not? But yeah, you can join politics as a follower. You can join politics as a follower. You can join politics to give back to the community. So, sorry, give me a minute. All right. Sorry for the break in transmission. So I was saying that so these are places that you could access and I mean get to meet people and eventually in life. If you are done with school already, you don't have to feel bad about it. You can still join communities within your private communities. You have guys that are involved in this and that, and you're just like, I don't have time for that. Bro, join communities, it help. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. I know a lot of people that have at least in the law. That's why I added law schools here. I know a lot of people that after school, after law school, the job they got was because of someone they met in law school. Don't underrate some of these connections. Don't underrate them. Don't just say, me, oh, I don't want to get my. Okay, if you don't want to do politics, volunteer. Volunteer for community drive. Volunteer for orphanage drive in school. Volunteer for social causes. Volunteer for one or two things in school. Don't just go to school, spend 4 years and not have single impact. Nobody remember that when you were in school you did this and that and that. There are some of you that you cannot go back to your school right now. You can't enter your school and at least one person. I mean, I've left school for over. Yeah, last time I went to my faculty, immediately I entered my faculty, everybody was like, president, president, president. Well, let's say I was a president. Like I came with somebody who was my colleague. We were always walking around. It was like, pass it, pass it. And you wonder why a lot of people are not really, if tomorrow you decide to I decide or somebody else who is active in school decide to go into some spaces, they would actually get access to them. So basically, early in my career I worked with some government parastatals, and what got me there was my input as a student. It was just my input. As we invited somebody and it was like, this guy, can you work for us? Blah, blah, blah. We started working together since that time. So what am I trying to say? Move yourself, like leave that your comfort zone and express yourself in other ways, one way or the other. All right. um yes, traditional networking venues, obviously, go out in Ilorin. I think there's I'm sorry, I'm mentioning places I know. In Lorry, I think there's a park in Flower Garden where people just sit down and talk, walk around. In Port Harcourt, there's what's the name of this place in Port Harcourt? Uh, there's there's shy garden, so to say. There's a place you can meet up with people. Um, there is okay, okay, thank you. All right, so basically, meet up at this particular point. I'll round up now. And what other one? Yes, career fairs. So if you are going for um, uh, boot camps or places where you could actually meet people that would eventually give you a job, or even actual career fair, what should you do? What I would advise that you do is check who are the investors, who are the people that fund this event, who are the people that would probably come, who are the people that are talking about attending this event. When you research about them, then learn about what they do and how your work can actually help them. So that when you are there, you're not just going there to hear what you have to say. You have to prepare what you will tell to them. So make sure you're able to sell yourself in 30 to 60 seconds. You meet the person at the entrance. Ooh, Mr. Bayo, right? Yes, one of the biggest guys on LinkedIn I met. I went to a place to watch movie in Lagos, and I was coming out of the movie. That was when they launched their 3D cinema. I was coming out of the movie and I saw him. It was literally no, it was coming out, I was going in, which means he was done with what I had to do. All I had to do was just say, guy, and we talk, and I would probably remind him one of my comments that went viral on his post. And that was just all I had to do. But I missed it. I came back home, messaged him on DM, and he said, you should have messaged me. You could have stopped me. I love to meet people like you. And that was how it ended. But if I believe strongly that if I had communicated with him that at that particular venue, I would have gotten his phone number. I was shy to ask for his phone number on LinkedIn again because I didn't do it physically. What am I trying to say? Push yourself. Push yourself. Prepare all that you need when that career fair or that opportunity will come. All right. Make sure that you're dressed properly. I don't need to tell you that. Don't dress like a. I won't talk the name. But yeah, make sure that when you're approaching them, you're not just saying, your shirt is so nice. You are not going to find a sugar boy. You are not going to find a sugar daddy or sugar mommy. You are going there with your goal in mind. So yeah, make sure that you collect a contact. It could be their email, it could be their business card. Make sure that you at least get something from them. All right. So what are the fairs? I've explained that there's the general one depending on industry. I've explained also that there's the ones in your university, and there are online ones. The online ones are not as effective as physical ones, but yeah, there are also online ones that you do. All right. I think we can stop here and then we'll continue the unconventional approach. I think that's going to be very interesting. But the unconventional approach will continue on Thursday. Um so today Do we have anybody that has any questions so I can answer them? Do we have any question? Okay, I'm going to assume there's no question so far. So, what have we learned so far? I need about two or three people to tell me what exactly we've learned so